I am so freaking ready. Tokyo Extreme Racer is back, mate. I hate that the music stops. I hate that it stops. You know that's going to be a banger. We are getting another Tokyo Extreme Racer. It has been 20 years since a proper mainline non-mobile version of the game has existed. And you know what? Why I'm more excited than ever is because I didn't play the other games. I actually just learned that the reason I probably didn't play Tokyo Extreme Racer 3 is it wasn't released in the PAL region, which is the European UK region. They only released it in Japan and in the United States as the main focus, which is it's exactly why. Also, I was taken over the brain by the Need for Speed. The Need for Speed's kind of focused on us, whereas this focused on the... You get the idea. So, what is new with this game? What do we know so far? They've put out a Steam page with some little details, and basically, I'll let you know the highlights. 2025 is the aim, so then it would have been 20 years from the main last game. It's a racing game set in a sealed-off future Tokyo. Compete for the fastest lap in your customized cars on highways that weave through the city, aiming to reach the top. Progression. Drive real cars. License. Slip through other cars. Engage in spirit-wrecking battles. Tokyo Extreme Racer is now in development. Please look forward to more information. Boy, that's all you need to do, and I'm signed up. What the frick? Okay, let's talk a little bit about the developer with the very interesting logo. It's pretty fun. Well, obviously they made the Tokyo Extreme Racer series. They actually also worked on some other game that you may have heard of. Import Tuner Challenge. That's a good one, if you've played it. They've not released a full-fledged game since 2009, which was this, Katamari Forever. They actually cancelled a Genki Racing project around 2010, and they started working on an augmented reality game, which was also then cancelled. There seems to be a lot of cancellations, but the fact that they've announced this gives me hope. Now, they did actually make a mobile game in between then, actually launching in 2017, and this is, well, futuristic Tokyo, maybe a little bit too futuristic. The screenshots look nothing like this, so don't get too worried when they say futuristic. But the point is, they released this game in 2017, and it was a mobile game that was this way. I don't really know of many mobile games that actually did that, and I kind of wish more did. I feel like I would play more mobile games if I just played it in the way the phone's supposed to be held. But they shut the game down in 2017. So, they've been struggling for major success for a while. There actually is another game they made very recently. It's this one. I mean, not quite my type of game. In fact, actually is released July 31st. So what we've got so far is these screenshots demonstrating the map already. The fact that they've made this kind of crazy. Like, it looks stunning. It just, out of nowhere, all of a sudden, the course has been created. The map, the world is ready. It looks pretty great. It looks pretty exciting. The main focus of this series is literally racing in the highway of Japan. I actually went back and played one of the previous games, which was the most recent of the racing series, and quite honestly, I had a lot of fun. It's quite a simplistic game, and I feel like that's kind of what we need recently in the gaming industry. Clearly, big games, unless they do amazingly, are being chopped, removed, gotten rid of. And so I think it kind of makes sense to have smaller games. And to be clear, by smaller game, I mean it's a pretty simplistic idea. There's a highway, you race people in the cars, you win the race, you progress to the next car. It's to the point, and we kind of need some more of those games. I kind of miss that from the area. It means more games. Thank you, Tokyo Smith, but this is the real version of the road. You can see compact, tight, and this is perfect for racing, intense racing, because one slip up could ruin everything. Look how tiny and squished these cars are. This is where I want to be. Small cars, I mean, they're tall, but squish car. The Prius is the biggest thing there. Shout out to this channel. This, in case you didn't know, is the Shotoku Revival Project. This is one of the most, if not probably the most popular track mod in Assetto Corsa. And the main reason is people are lusting after this experience of racing on the expressway, racing other people, and quite honestly, the fact that they're making a dedicated game back about it is the perfect time. It just kind of makes sense. This type of experience is inaccessible to a lot of people on console, and I'm pretty certain if this game does well, we'll expect a console release at some point. It just has to be the case. There is a question deep within me making me think about, will this work in 2025? Because what gamers want is very different from what it was 20 years ago. But how different actually is it? So far, what we've had is so many big, expensive games that maybe focus on the wrong areas, and then they're having to pick up the pieces a little bit later. Need for Speed Unbound, for example. The reason they have the animations and the cartoon characters in Need for Speed is because what they said, they put their games side by side with other racing games, and they all looked the same. What better than to have a racing game set in Japan, focus on Japanese cars, with customization? How long have people been asking for such a simplistic idea, but a modern version of such, to the point where Night Runners, a game kind of blew up out of nowhere, a small game that's actually also coming out next year, which will be very interesting. Next year, we're going to Japan, friends. Oh my god, yeah. But I think that game existing and how it performed, considering it's a new IP and no one knows what the hell the game was, well, I think that just leaves and shows there's a perfect space in the market for another one of these to return. I'm excited, and of course it doesn't need to sell multi-billions of copies because it's not going to be a massive crazy game just like the Need for Speeds and such. I mean, the fact that they released that weird, I don't even know what you would describe it as, game on Steam, and it got 10 reviews, and then moving on to the next project and making a racing game with 3D maps and 3D cars and real cars and customization, and publicly announcing to do so is kind of mental. I'm for it. Small developers are genuinely gonna be the future, I think, of this industry, at least long term, creating multiple series. They don't have to hit crazy numbers with these publishers unless they, you know, go to a publisher later because they need some funds, which, you know, then detract what I said a minute ago. So I do have one other question, because this game series actually had multiple variants. It had the racing series and the drifting series, which were, you know, sub the main game. And the drifting series, well, it's a little bit different. It's quite similar, but the road layouts are different. And what basically, back then, you could charge for those games to be separate. But these days, a lot of people want to do some drifting in the mountains as well as some racing on the highway. And it really would be a really good selling point to have both of these experiences in one title. However, I don't want to have to throw so much work onto the developers. I want them to have a successful, simplistic racing game from go. You try and race and you try and win and you upgrade your car. It's pretty basic, but I would absolutely love to have the drifting element included, and I think that's something Night Runners is actually doing, which is realistically going to be the main competitor. These are both going to be small games. The series, as much as some people like love the series and they grew up with it and things like that, it just never was to the level of, say, the Need for Speed and stuff, which is probably why we've not seen it for the last 20 years. But now that everyone is connected, we're now being able to talk about these things. Like 20 years ago, I couldn't make YouTube videos saying, oh my god, guys, check out this freaking game. Let me know what you think of it. That just quite honestly wasn't possible. Therefore, word of mouth, it just wasn't really a thing. Hell, internet was like bare bones. So, of course, I'm going to cover this as best as possible. If you guys, Genki, want to reach out and send me some more footage or like early builds or something, just let me know, because I'm your guy. I'm excited for this. I've never been to Japan. It's on my list. I ain't got time to give me a game. Well, I could do the damn thing. And think of all the console players that have missed out on that Tokyo experience, because Night Runners is probably gonna come to console at some point. This game hopefully comes to console at some point. Assetto Corsa will never have mods on console. It's just not going to happen. It's a very complicated thing to do, and I think car companies would get very annoyed. On PC, it's a little bit more underground. Now, normally what I would do here is sit and make my requests for what I'd like to see for the game, but quite honestly, I've really explained it. I want something that I can just jump on and play, beat some baboons in a race, but I want some difficulty. And that's one huge advantage with the highway system, is basically most of the time you're following a one set path, which means the AI doesn't really have much to muck up. It's again, a pretty simple idea. I think what would be really cool is along the highway to have different types of shops that you can jump to. But again, maybe that gets rid of some of the simplistic nature of jumping back to the menu and then doing everything from there. Having a form of multiplayer would be so sick, even if it's just sessioning with a few friends. That's one of the biggest pulls of Assetto Corsa absolutely one of the biggest pulls of Assetto Corsa. The community experience, that is probably my only main thing that I say kind of needs to happen for the game to be successful long term. But again, success, it means different things, and for this game, it doesn't need to be a behemoth. It doesn't need to sell millions of copies. It just needs to be more successful than their recent ideas, which, quite frankly, most of them didn't actually come out. So I'm ready for it. And fun fact for you, actually, they have more staff members, a lot more staff members, about 100 staff members more than the Need for Speed team, at least that we know. So they could make some pretty amazing stuff. But of course, they don't, have EA money. Let's not pretending outsourcing is going to be a little bit more difficult because you could outsource within EA. Anyway, Tokyo Xtreme Racer is coming back. I'm very excited, and you should be too. The rise of the small racing game. My friends, we are getting back to it. Give me back that PS2, then PS3 era, full circle. Full circle. Give me all the games. Let me decide what I want. Don't just give me a AAA walking sim. I don't give a poo. But you should give a poo about this video, because that's me playing Tokyo Xtreme Race. I did all right. To be fair, it's a good game.